Hello, today we will explore how globalization can impact the environment. So in the first section of the presentation, I'll be talking about general things about globalization, and then in the second section, I'll be explaining its effects on the environment. Thirdly, I'll be showing some things we can do to help ease out its negative effects. And lastly, there will be different questions from 3 different perspectives. Before jumping into the serious stuff, here is a quote that I found on the internet. It is by Bill Clinton. I think that this is very true. Now I'm going to start explaining the basic information about globalization. You may be wondering, what is globalization? Well, globalization means the speed up of movements and exchanges all over the planet. And in case you don't know what environment means, it is the surroundings or conditions in which a person, animal, or plant lives operate. Now I'm going to talk about the history of globalization. Some say globalization began about 60,000 years ago, which is at the beginning of human history. It started with commercial trade routes, migration, military conquest, and exploration expeditions. Globalization speeded up when there were technological advances in transportation and communication, which was particularly after the second half of the 20th century. Since then, world trade accelerated at such dimension and speed that the term globalization started to be commonly used. Did you know that there are many types of globalization? For example, economic globalization, cultural globalization, financial globalization, and political globalization. Then there's also sociological globalization, geographic globalization, technological globalization, and lastly, ecological globalization. Now in the second section, we're going to talk about the effects of globalization on the environment. We're going to start with its positive impacts. Globalization facilitates the coming together of people from different backgrounds. When people come together, they generally have more power at hand. They can then help to tackle environmental issues such as stopping deforestation and establishing a nature reserve instead. Secondly, globalization have expanded options of living necessities. More communities now have access to previously unavailable foods, medicines, and living necessities. For instance, the trading of coffee. Coffee is said to be originally from Ethiopia and consumed in the Arabic region. Nonetheless, due to commercial trades after the 11th century, it is nowadays known as a globally consumed commodity. Since globalization promotes large-scale industrial production, it means that it causes climate change. If there is climate change, there will be milder winters. Milder winters could reduce the death rate from health issues like stroke. So, although globalization causes climate change, there are still some advantages from it. Another example is the next one. Mosquitoes have difficulties living in hot and dry climates, so when climate change happens, there will be less people infected with mosquito-borne illnesses, such as malaria. Globalization has also helped spread environmentally friendly technologies and practices across the world. An example of an environmentally friendly technology is a solar cell. And an example of an environmentally friendly practice is using reusable bags instead of plastic bags. This will reduce the pollution, especially in developed countries. Last but not least, books, movies, and music are now widely available all around the world thanks to globalization. This can increase one's understanding and awareness of other cultures and identities. This will make knowledgeable and open-minded citizens, which will help a country to have great leaders. Now I'm going to talk about its negative impacts. According to activists, globalization has led to an increase in the consumption of products, which has impacted the ecological cycle. Ecological cycles are the various self-regulating processes that recycle the Earth's limited resources, such as water, carbon, nitrogen, and other elements that are essential to sustain life. Globalization has also led to an increase in the transportation of raw materials and food from one place to another. The amount of fuel that is consumed in transporting these products has led to an increase in the pollution levels in the environment, such as air pollution and noise pollution. Transportation has also put a strain on the non-renewable sources of energy, such as gasoline. The gases that are emitted from the aircraft for transportation have led to the depletion of the ozone layer. Since industrialization is increased, there are more industrial waste. These wastes, which contain various chemicals, have been thrown into the soil and ocean. These toxic waste has caused lots of damage to plants by interfering in their genetic makeup. It has put pressure on the available land resources. Some industrial waste has also been thrown into the ocean. This has killed many underwater organisms and has deposited many harmful chemicals in the ocean. In addition, in various parts of the world, mountains are being cut to make way for a passing tunnel or a highway. Vast areas have also been used to make new buildings. This will overall decrease our free space available on Earth. Last but not least, the worldwide distribution of goods is also creating a big garbage problem, as lots of plastic are used to transport these raw materials. Plastic is very harmful to our planet as it is non-biodegradable. Now it's time to find out how we can make a change. National policies are a good starting point, but only when businesses and consumers are willing to do things differently. An example of an effective policy is banning non-reusable bags. When influencers do something, the world watches, and some people will follow their actions. Influencers can help by being aware of their actions and promoting a sustainable lifestyle. Moreover, corporations and governments can combine knowledge and other resources to make gains that will benefit the planet. On a personal level, we could start changing our ways, for example, by purchasing goods from more sustainable companies, because every effort is worth it. Lastly, we can react favorably when companies and governments make choices that are advantageous to the environment. Finally, we have reached the final section of this presentation. I have come up with 3 questions for each perspective. We're going to start off with the global perspective questions. The first question is, which countries work together the most? Second question, how do countries work together? And the third question is, why do certain countries work better with some countries? Then we have the national or local perspective questions. The first question is, how does globalization contribute to my city? And the second question is, with which countries does my country work with the most? And the final question is, how is Indonesia contributing to other countries? And lastly is the personal perspective questions. First, does my family work together often? Then does my family's company work with people from other countries? Thirdly, which countries are the best to work with? Then I have my reference pages. The first one is for the datas and the second one is for the images. Anyway, thank you!